Well,
hello and welcome. Good morning. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Stay with us for all the news you need to start your day with. We have a packed bulletin ahead.
absolutely, Gargi. Very good morning. Up ahead, two LET terrorists are killed. The police say Amreen's killing has been solved. Also, is there trouble as far as the Gehlot government is concerned, Gargi?
That's right. All that and more coming up. Let's take a look at the headlines. We're tracking two Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists suspected to be involved in the killing of TV artist Amreen Bhat were shot dead in a late-night encounter. Amreen murder solved in 24 hours, say cops.
Minister close to Ashok Gehlot, Ashok Chandana, has vented his anger against the state bureaucracy, saying he wants to be relieved of his responsibilities.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Big South push ahead of the 2024 elections praises Tamil Nadu as a special place, also inaugurated 11 projects. Talent demands Tamil be an official language like Hindi.
And the IAS officer who used to walk his dog in the Delhi stadium has been transferred to Ladakh, and an inquiry has been ordered into the claim that the stadium was emptied for him.
It's Mamata Banerjee versus the governor. Mamata's government decides to introduce a bill in the assembly to make the chief minister, not the governor, chancellor of all state universities in Bengal.
Author Gitanjali Shree's Hindi novel, Tomb of Sand, has been translated into English and has become the first book by any Indian language to win the prestigious International Booker Prize.
All right, so let's get started. Two Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists suspected to be involved in the killing of TV artist Amreen Bhat have been shot dead in a late-night encounter in the town of Awantipora in Jammu and Kashmir. Bhat was shot dead by terrorists outside a house in Badgam's Hashru village on Wednesday.
Right, Gargi, in that shootout, her 10-year-old nephew was also injured, and two terrorists, Shahid Mustaq Bhat and Farhan Habib, have also been killed. They had killed that 35-year-old TV artist. The killing of the TV artist, who also uploaded her videos on social media sites, had sparked protests and condemnation across the Union Territory.
कल रात में दो इनकाउंटर्स हुआ है, एक सौरा एरिया श्रीनगर में, जिसमें श्रीनगर पुलिस को खबर मिला था कि लश्कर तैयबा का दो टेररिस्ट साउथ कश्मीर से यहाँ आए हुए हैं. श्रीनगर पुलिस की एक छोटी टीम गई, उसको फॉलो कर रही थी. जाते अंदर से फायरिंग आ गया. रिटेलिएशन में दोनों टेररिस्ट मारे गए हैं. दोनों लोकल टेररिस्ट, सी कैटेगरी टेररिस्ट है. एक AK-47 राइफल, एक पिस्टल मिला है. दूसरा इनकाउंटर अवंतीपुर एरिया हुआ है, उसमें दो LET का टेररिस्ट मारा गया है. और हम सब को याद है कि 2 दिन पहले एक TV एक्ट्रेस को मारा था. हम लोग तभी से उसको ट्रैक कर रहे थे. उसमें से दोनों मारे गए हैं. लतीफ़ के डायरेक्शन पर दोनों ने किल किया था. तो जो हमारे लेट जो सिस्टर है अमरीन, उनको जस्टिस मिला है.
All right, let's go across to Nazir Masoodi now for more. Nazir, give us more details of this encounter and the police saying that Amreen has been avenged.
Well, yeah, they are saying the killers, Amreena have been killed in an encounter late last evening in Awantipora. These were two locals and who, according to police, had recently joined militancy, and they were involved in the target killing of Amreen Bhat, a local social media artist, and who was uploading her videos, dance and other things on social media. And family was asking, was that the crime? That was, they would have asked her to leave, stop doing that, she would have done that. So it was really shocking that a young woman was killed like that for music and a dance. But nobody knows what was the actual reason. So this was one encounter. Then there was another encounter in Sora, in Srinagar city, where Saifullah Qadri, a policeman, was killed a few days back. And then 2 militants have been killed there as well. But it's not clear if they are linked to his killing. In last 48 hours, 10 militants have been killed in 4 encounters. One encounter happened in Baramulla, where 3 militants were killed. Another happened yesterday in their line of control in Kupwara district. 3 militants were killed. And overnight, two operations, 4 militants have been killed. This clearly shows a major offensive against militancy by the security force, by Jammu and Kashmir police. But always the big question, attacks don't stop. While it's not stopping, but in the last 48 hours, 10 militants have been killed. 2 of them are involved in, according to police, killing of Amreen Bhat.
Right. Thank you, Nazir, for joining us with all those details. Moving on in other news, news coming in from Rajasthan, trouble for the Gehlot government. A minister close to Ashok Gehlot, this is Ashok Chandna, has vented his anger against the state bureaucracy.
That's right, and he asked the Chief Minister to remove him from what he called the dishonourable ministerial post and hand over the charge of all his departments to Kuldeep Rangka, whom he called Minister of all the departments.
Well, he is a sports minister and MLA from Bundi and is believed to be very close to the Chief Minister, but his latest statement comes close on the offer to resign by the tribal leader and MLA Ganesh Ghogra, who also had a run-in with the state bureaucracy.
And BJP leaders have immediately latched on to Chandna's tweet to target the Gehlot government, tweeting, "The ship is sinking. The trends for 2023 begin to arrive," is what the BJP state president Satish Punia tweeted. Well, let's go across to Harsha now for more. And Harsha, give us more details about this and clearly unhappiness with the bureaucrat. What are you hearing from the Gehlot camp?
Well, firstly, Ashok Chandra is very, very close to Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. But yes, so it's definitely a cause of worry that ministers close to him, people from his camp are coming up with these kind of statements. Now, Ashok Chandra has said that, I don't want to handle these departments. Please let Mr. Kuldeep Rangka handle it. Mr. Kuldeep Rangka is the Chief Minister's principal. He's Principal Secretary to CM. So that's really like a direct attack on the Chief Minister. Chandra is a popular Gujjar leader. He's from Bundi, a place called Hindoli, MLA from that area, youth leader that Ashok Gehlot was trying to promote. Also, this comes just after Ganesh Ghogra had a run-in with the bureaucracy over the distribution of land deeds. And Sayyam Lodha, another independent MLA who's part of the Chief Minister's Advisory Council, had also made comments about the functioning of the government, especially the paper leak case. So, these kind of things emanating from them is definitely rocking the political boat in Rajasthan because it's tenuously posed. Remember, there was that standoff between Mr. Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. So, any kind of rumblings in Rajasthan do have political repercussions. Also, most importantly, the Rajya Sabha election is coming up. And the Congress is hoping that out of the 4 seats, they'll manage to win 3. The third seat could be a bit of a challenge for them. That's why every vote, every MLA, and of course every minister is very, very important ahead of that crucial Rajya Sabha election.
All right, Harsha, thanks so much for joining us there with the latest on that particular controversy and so trouble for the Ashok Gehlot government, or so it seems. And now in other news, on Thursday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised Tamil Nadu as a special place and lauded the Tamil language as eternal and its culture as global.
Well, Gargi, he also inaugurated 11 projects. These projects were worth 31,000 crore. This is Prime Minister's first official visit to Tamil Nadu after DMK took to power. This happened last year. The Chief Minister, Stalin, who shared stage with the Prime Minister, demanded that Tamil be made an official language just like Hindi.
That's right. So the language, their controversy breaking out in Chennai. Also earlier in Hyderabad, the Prime Minister had hit out at Chief Minister KCR over dynasty politics. TRS hit back, saying that the Prime Minister spoke like a BJP worker and not the PM.
तेलंगाना के लोग देख रहे हैं कि एक परिवार को समर्पित पार्टियां.
A politically charged environment where both Prime Minister Modi and Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao indirectly took potshots at each other. In KCR's home turf, Prime Minister Modi accused him of corruption and family politics.
तेलंगाना के लोग देख रहे हैं कि एक परिवार को समर्पित पार्टियां जब सत्ता में आती है तो कैसे उस परिवार के सदस्य भ्रष्टाचार उसका सबसे बड़ा चेहरा बन जाते हैं.
The Telangana Chief Minister wasn't in Hyderabad to welcome the Prime Minister Modi. Instead, he was in Bengaluru rallying support from the JDS Supremos, the Gowdas. K. Chandrasekhar Rao promised a sensational announcement soon while attacking the Prime Minister, making it clear that he is not the B team of the BJP.
हालात बिगड़ता जा रहा है दिन ब दिन। भाषणबाजी तो बहुत होता है, प्रॉमिसेस बहुत किए जाते हैं, लेकिन होता यह है असलियत क्या है? इंडस्ट्री क्लोजर हो रहा है, जीडीपी क्रैश हो रहा है, इन्फ्लेशन ऑन द हाई राइज है, रुपया पूरा कंप्लीटली गिर गया है, नेवर बिफोर इन द हिस्ट्री। देश के युवाओं को, देश के बुद्धिजीवियों को, देश के जर्नलिस्ट भाइयों का ये फर्ज बनता है कि भारत बदले, ज़रूर बदले और ज़रूर बदलेगा।
The Prime Minister also visited Chennai, with his party organizing a road show. Even though it has a negligible presence in the state, it won only 4 seats of the assembly seats last year. In Tamil Nadu, Modi launched and laid the foundation for projects worth 31,000 crore rupees. This includes the highways, railways, and a 5,000 crore rupee project to 2-tier elevated corridor in Chennai, launched by the DMK in its last venture over a decade ago, but put in cold storage by the AIA-DMK regime.
It is always wonderful to be back in Tamil Nadu. This is land, and this land is special. The people, culture and language of the state are outstanding. We have gathered here to celebrate yet another glorious chapter of Tamil Nadu's development journey.
M.K. Stalin, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, has always been vocal about the Hindi imposition by the BJP Supremos, and on a couple of occasions he has directly warned Home Minister Amit Shah on how the imposition of Hindi tactic won't help them win Tamil Nadu.
பழமைக்கும் பழமையாய் புதுமைக்கும் புதுமையாய் உலக செம்மொழிகளில் இன்றளவும் சீரழமை திறத்தோடு உயிர்ப்போடு விளங்கக்கூடிய தமிழை இந்திக்கு இணையான அலுவல் மொழியாகவும் உயர்நீதிமன்றத்தில் வழக்காடு மொழியாகவும் அறிவிக்க வேண்டும். இறுதியாக மருத்துவ மாணவர் சேர்க்கைக்கு கொண்டு வரப்பட்டுள்ள தேசிய தகுதி மற்றும் நுழைவுத் தேர்வு நீட் முறையை தமிழ்நாடு அரசு தொடர்ந்து எதிர்த்து வருகிறது.
Interestingly, Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister was the first CM K. Chandrasekhar Rao visited when he started heading out against the BJP late last year. M.K. Stalin is currently part of an alliance with the opposition Congress. Next on KCR's visiting list, the Odisha's Naveen Patnaik and West Bengal's Mamta Banerjee. K. Chandrasekhar Rao believes that the time has come to forge an alliance without the BJP or the Congress for that matter. He sends out a very strong message, in fact a warning to Prime Minister Narendra Modi that something big awaits, not just him but also BJP-led NDA. With Sam and Govind, Shrija for NDTV.
All right, let's now focus on all the moves that are happening ahead of the Rajya Sabha elections, and even as the suspense over the Rajya Sabha candidature of Union Minister RCP Singh from the Janata Dal continues. Party Supremo and Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar finally met him on Thursday evening. The meeting was also attended by Party President Rajiv Ranjan Singh.
Gargi, that meeting went on for about 45 minutes. We're still not clear whether Singh will get another term or will Nitish finally communicate that to him about his decision to drop him this time around.
All right, so that's as far as the JDU. But in other news, Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav finally decided to choose ally Jayant Chaudhary over his wife Dimple Yadav as the party's candidature for Rajya Sabha. Jayant Chaudhary will be the joint candidate of the Samajwadi Party, and Rashtriya Lok Dal is what the party tweeted yesterday.
Right, and Gargi, this came right after reports that Dimple Yadav, a former Samajwadi Party MP, had snagged the party's third and last Rajya Sabha slot. Jayant Chaudhary is believed to have been very upset about this, and he was communicated that it will be Dimple and not him. However, there was that surprise element that we got to hear of yesterday.
That's right, Sanket has all the details.
So let's now quickly tell you how the numbers stack up. There are elections on 57 seats in Rajya Sabha. That means 57 new members are to be chosen. Where all in this country are they going to be? That map right in front of you. 2 in Punjab, 2 in Haryana, 4 in Rajasthan, 3 in Madhya Pradesh, 2 in Chhattisgarh, 6 in Maharashtra, in Karnataka there are 4. In Uttar Pradesh there are 11, 5 in Bihar, 2 in Jharkhand, 3 in Odisha, 2 in Telangana, 4 in Andhra Pradesh and 6 in Tamil Nadu. This adds up to 57 Rajya Sabha seats on which Rajya Sabha MPs are going to be chosen. Now let's quickly tell you what is the current scenario of these 57. Here are the numbers. So the BJP has 24, there are 8 of the Congress and 25 others. And among these 25, there are 12 who are pro-BJP and 13 who are anti-BJP. So the BJP of these 57 has a majority. Only on this 57, not overall. What is the scenario that is likely post these elections? That projection on your screen right now, BJP will have 21, others will be at 26, Congress slight edge with 10, that means slight increase. But of these others, how many are likely to be pro-BJP? 11 and 15 are likely to be anti-BJP. So again, in pure numbers of these 57, the BJP has an edge in the Rajya Sabha. Now let's quickly tell you the big suspense stories as far as this election is concerned. Suspense number 1 was ended today because it was from Uttar Pradesh. So we know that Kapil Sibal was elected, in fact he was nominated as an independent, and then you had Mr. Javed Ali. But the third seat, there was a bit of a fight and a suspense and a contest whether it should be Akhilesh's wife Dimple Yadav or Jayant Chaudhary. Now there is confirmation that Jayant Chaudhary is going to go to the Rajya Sabha on a joint Samajwadi Party RLD ticket. Let's now move to Bihar because suspense continues over there. In Bihar, Nitish Kumar is yet to open his cards. He's yet to declare who his nominees are going to be. So that big double suspense continues. And the problem over here is that the lone minister in the Modi government from the JDU, Mr. RCP Singh, is really hoping against hope that he gets chosen and he gets nominated. So far, Nitish Kumar has not done that, and the last day is the 31st of May. So will that decision be taken by Nitish Kumar, or is Nitish going to decide something else? So the suspense as far as the race to Rajya Sabha in Bihar continues.
All right, well, now we have an update on that story that created quite a furor online as well, of an IS officer walking his dog in a stadium and the stadium having to be emptied of all athletes just so the IS officer could walk his dog. Well, now the Ministry of Home Affairs has sought a report from the Chief Secretary of Delhi on this news report regarding the misuse of facilities at the Tyagaraja Stadium by Sanjay Khirwar and his wife Rinku Dugga. Chief Secretary Delhi submitted a report yesterday on the factual position to the MHA.
Right. Meanwhile, Sanjeev Khirwar has been transferred by the MHA to Ladakh and his wife to Arunachal Pradesh. Necessary action will be initiated based on that very report.
And this was first reported in the Indian Express that over the past few months, athletes and coaches at the Delhi government-run Tyagaraja Stadium were complaining about being forced to wrap up earlier their training so that he could walk his dog.
Gargi, apparently by 7 o'clock in the evening, because Delhi's Principal Secretary, that's Sanjeev Khirwar, walked his dog at the facility about half an hour late.
Now, the officer and his wife have both been transferred out, one to Ladakh, one to Arunachal, and now everyone is asking where will the dog go. But let's go across to Neeta for more on this. And Neeta, this whole story had created quite an outrage online. Everybody was, talking about it, questioning it, and the usual sort of, the babus and the bureaucrats really getting their way, and our athletes having to suffer, and now very, very quick action.
Yes, Gargi, this incident had indeed triggered a social media storm, in which politicians slamming the bureaucrats for misusing the authority. So, many people were coming out and expressing their, concern as to why the athletes were asked to move out, and the IAS officer, his wife, and the dog were taking a walk in the stadium. In fact, Mr. Khirwar is Delhi's Principal Secretary in the Revenue Department. His wife is also posted here. Now, after this this thing came to light. Both belong to an AGMO cadre. They are 1994 officers. So now both of them have been transferred out of Delhi. Mr. Khirwar, Sanjeev Khirwar has been transferred to Ladakh and his wife has been transferred to Arunachal Pradesh. So strict disciplinary action as far as the government is concerned. A report was sought by MHA from the Chief Secretary. The Chief Secretary promptly, after getting to know both sides of things, he submitted a report on which the Ministry of Home Affairs has taken an action. Although some people are questioning that why being posted to Ladakh and also in Arunachal Pradesh, because both are also equally beautiful locations, can be considered a punishment posting. But that is a thing going on the social media by various people. But as far as the government is concerned, they have taken action and they have posted both husband and wife to two different locations of the country.
Right, Neeta, though it is a punishment because the couple has been split up, and as we were mentioning, everybody is wondering whether the dog will now go to Ladakh or go to Arunachal Pradesh, and we'll wait for you to update us on that. Well, with that, we'll slip into a short break now as that suspense continues over where the dog goes.
Right, and he's going to miss those long walks at that huge stadium there, Gargi. But with that, we're slipping into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you the terrorists who killed Amreen Bhat. They have been shot at.
Welcome back. News now from Jammu and Kashmir, and two Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists suspected to be involved in the killing of TV artist Amreen Bhat were shot dead in a late-night encounter in Awantipora. Bhat was shot dead by terrorists outside her house in Badgam's Hashru village on Wednesday.
Gargi, her 10-year-old nephew was also injured in the process. The two terrorists, Shahid Mustaq Bhat and Farhan Habib, had killed the 35-year-old TV artist. The killing of the TV artist, who also uploaded her videos on social media sites, had sparked protests and condemnation across the Union Territory.
That's right. And now the police say with this killing, they have solved the killing of Amreen and that justice has been served.
कल रात में दो इनकाउंटर्स हुआ है, एक सौरा एरिया श्रीनगर में, जिसमें श्रीनगर पुलिस को खबर मिला था कि लश्कर तैयबा का दो टेररिस्ट साउथ कश्मीर से यहाँ आए हुए हैं. श्रीनगर पुलिस की एक छोटी टीम गई, उसको फॉलो कर रही थी. जाते अंदर से फायरिंग आ गया. रिटेलिएशन में दोनों टेररिस्ट मारे गए हैं. दोनों लोकल टेररिस्ट, सी कैटेगरी टेररिस्ट है. एक AK-47 राइफल, एक पिस्टल मिला है. दूसरा इनकाउंटर अवंतीपुर एरिया हुआ है, उसमें दो LAT का टेररिस्ट मारा गया है. और हम सब को याद है कि 2 दिन पहले एक TV एक्ट्रेस को मारा था. हम लोग तभी से उसको ट्रैक कर रहे थे. उसमें से दोनों मारे गए हैं. लतीफ़ के डायरेक्शन पर दोनों ने किल किया था. तो जो हमारे लेट जो सिस्टर है अमरीन, उनको जस्टिस मिला है.
All right, so the Kashmir police, they're saying 10 terrorists, including 3 from JEM and 7 from LET terror outfits, killed in 3 days in the Kashmir Valley. The heinous murder case of late Amreen Bhat solved in 24 hours. That's a tweet in which the IGP is quoted. They also said the 2 killed terrorists of the LET have been identified as Shakir Ahmed Waza and Afreen Aftab Malik, both residents of Trends, incriminating materials including arms and ammunition recovered. Well, let's go across to Nazir for more. And Nazir, the police, they're saying this is a major success given that in 24 hours they managed to, kill the terrorists who killed the TV artist Amreen.
Yeah, exactly. Police are saying that they have killed both the killers of, Amreen Bhat, artist who was killed outside her home on Wednesday evening. She was called out and called outside her home and then shot dead. So it was clearly a target attack, and no one knew why she was killed. Was she killed for her work, what she was doing? But police say last evening they launched an operation late last evening, and during the overnight operation, both the militants have been killed. They had recently joined militancy. So and then there was another encounter in Saura area of Srinagar district where 2 more militants have been killed. In all, in last 48 hours, 10 militants have been killed in 4 different encounters across Kashmir. So which clearly shows a major offensive against militancy and the security forces are on an offensive. A large cache of arms and ammunition, according to police, have been recovered at these encounter sites. But as police said that within rather 24 hours, the attackers, those involved into the killing of Amreen Bhat, have been killed.
Right. Thank you, Nazir, for joining us with all those details.
Well, let's move on now to news from Rajasthan and trouble for the Ashok Gehlot government, perhaps. This after a minister who is close to the chief minister actually vented his anger against the state bureaucracy, saying that he wants to be relieved of his responsibilities.
Right, Gargi Ashok Chandna, the sports minister and MLA from Bundi, is believed to be very, very close to the chief minister.
And he tweeted that, Chief Minister, I have a personal request to you that by freeing me from this cruel ministerial post, the charge of all my departments should be given to Kuldeep Rankaji, because anyway, he is the minister of all the departments. So a sarcastic tweet there saying it should be handed over to the bureaucrat who he says anyway is controlling all the departments. Well, news now from Bengal and Mamata Banerjee's government there in a new flashpoint with the governor. But moving on to the other big news on the Booker Prize, and great news for India. Author Gitanjali Shree's Hindi novel Tomb of Sand has become the first book in any Indian language to win the prestigious International Booker Prize.
Well, at a ceremony in London on Thursday, the New Delhi-based writer said that she was completely overwhelmed with the bolt from the blue as she accepted her prize worth 50,000 these are pounds, 50,000 pounds, and shared with the book's English translator Daisy Rockwell. Tomb of Sand, originally also known as Ret Samadhi, is set in the northern part of India, and it follows an 80-year-old woman in a tale the Booker judges dubbed a joyous. This is a joyous journey and an irresistible novel.
Right, it's about an 8-year-old woman who confronts memories of partition, and really a big success there, given that it's the first novel that was written in an Indian language, then translated, and to go on to win the International Booker.
One of the constant themes of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland is healthcare. Joining us now, Shobna Kamineni of the Apollo Group. Shobna, it's been a very difficult 2 years with the entire situation with the pandemic over there. You know, moving beyond the pandemic, a lot of what you've done is on digital healthcare. Can you tell us some of the big initiatives which you've been looking at in the Apollo Group?
Vishnu, you know, the pandemic really was a terrible thing for the world, even for India, but I think the ability for all of us to go digital, those that were able to create a digital inclusion and a platform, actually, you know, could reach a lot more people. And I think in doing so, we made digital healthcare quite ubiquitous. I mean, it's getting more so. But not having that just to say that I can deliver medicines to anybody in 2 hours now, instead of them walking into one of our stores, or just to say book a consult at home, you know, do it with any doctor, specialist, then have your track your medical records, take health into your own hands, because that's something the pandemic really made people vulnerable and more interested in taking care of their health. So I think that in every way, when you're talking about digital, whether it's financial access, whether it's education, but healthcare is the one that it will bring the most lasting benefits.
Yeah. You know, what are the learning experiences of dealing with the pandemic? I would suggest it's not gone away. That we're going to, as healthcare providers, be dealing with this for a while, perhaps in a different way, in a different avatar, but it's not gone away, and vaccination remains so important.
Vaccination does. But you know, I think everyone is moving on. I see no masks have been from US to UK to here, while testing still is a thing. And it really, people have understood it's become endemic, but nobody wants to forget the lessons learned. In fact, we need to double down on infrastructure for health, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, make it more inclusive. These are the lessons, because the next one that's going to hit is something that's been with us all along. It's NCDs. You know, the amount of diabetes and obesity, you know, led through obesity. These are things that we were actually discussing in our healthcare governors. What's next? And everybody kind of unanimously pointed towards, while digital is super important, the things that we have to really solve for are NCDs, and to move, you know, 97% of of the healthcare budget of the world is spent on curative and, you know, treating people. Only 3% is in prevention.
Right.
That's what we need to push.
You know, in your talks over here in Davos, and also the focus in Davos, there's been a great deal in terms of sustainable growth. That is certainly there at a corporate level, you know, green growth. How is the Apollo Group really focusing on that as well?
You know, ESG has become really not just a boardroom subject with us, but it's really in every part of what we're looking for. The way that we look at waste, we've always been very responsible, but now we're looking to see whether we can change the way, you know, the packaging, how we look at reuse of, you know, there was so much of waste during the pandemic because you had to for safety, but now we're looking to see how you can safely dispose, still be careful, but do good things like that. And in terms of sustainability, I think companies now are looking at sustainability from many, many different aspects. One is, will your company sustain in this current world, inflation, all these pressures? So will you be able to keep your workforce? That's another big question. And then will you be profitable to be able to continue to expand and grow? Within this criteria, we still have to lock in the idea that this world is not going to be our world much longer. If we continue to do the things we did earlier in terms of, look at the heat wave in India, look at the kind of crazy weather we've been having here. I mean, it's beautiful now, but you know, suddenly it's hot, suddenly it's raining, and these are the kind of shocks that, you know, that affect everybody. Farmers probably more than ever, but these are the things, when you talk about sustainability, every business, whether it's in healthcare for sure, we do require not to ignore the fact that we generate a lot of waste. We need to be able to look after that. We need to be more thoughtful in the way we consume electricity and where we get it from. And all these, I think, are things, you know, maybe we should be building less hospitals and taking more healthcare home. We're looking at, you know, hybrid work and how that productivity.
One of the key themes, longevity and altering genetics to cure chronic diseases like cancer and increasing the lifespan of people. It is now serious science in many parts of the world. What are your thoughts on that?
India, of course, would, you know, you would think that being more inclusive, affordable health is part of our agenda, but it has never stopped us from being at the cutting edge of all technology. And I do think that a lot of institutions, Apollo included, are looking at what we can do, you know, right from the stages of catching it early. And when you catch it early, you can stop disease progression. And the way that you can look at treatment protocols nowadays is there a myriad of ways, you know, and I think one of the most exciting that you're looking at is whether it's stem cells for regeneration of spinal disorders, or you're looking at, you know, how you know, safer birth at a later age. These are, you know, treating the most difficult cancers. What are the treatment protocols? So solving for those is going to require not just the medicines that you consume, or you know, having even the proton beam that we have, which is the latest. It's going to need more. It'll go deep into your genetics, and maybe if we can create those slight alterations, which we're doing with we're trying to bring CAR-T cells to India for leukemia. It's a superb treatment. So all these protocols, to be at the cutting edge, I think that no institution, no tertiary institution worth its salt, you know, is ignoring looking
Right.
at these. And fortunately, we have the doctors.
Right.
We have access to partnerships that will come
Right.
and bring that, because everybody looks at India as a place where you know that you have many worlds and many needs. And I think that longevity for us is very personal.
Absolutely.
You know, we're so family oriented, and this is the thing. So I do think keeping a nice healthy population and being together
Right.
is a goal for many.
How important is it, in terms of your corporate ethos or your philosophy, to bring in the finest talent? I mean, when you look at healthcare, if you don't have fantastic talent, then, we're never going to progress. Is there a dearth of talent, or is there too much in India?
There can never be enough. But I think what we would do is that the big thing that's happening
Yeah.
today is upskilling.
Right.
And that's what India needs. We train thousands of doctors, of course not enough, but everybody's thinking about medical colleges. Andhra Pradesh said that in every district they're going to put one. But
Yeah.
what's the quality you get? So it's that quality for us to make great doctors. We do two things. One is that we have a program within our own of upskilling them, but the other is using technology. Can you use robotics? Can you use a clinical intelligence engine that, you put the inputs and it gives doctors at least, up to 85% what the, of the diagnosis, provisional diagnosis.
Sure.
And then they use their intelligence on top of it.
Right.
So I think using those tools, we will be able to get a much higher quality of medical talent in the country across all levels with this. But speaking of talent, you might have, I think one of the biggest dialogues that is happening today in the world in the great resignation is the shortage of healthcare.
Yes, exactly.
Workers.
Why I asked.
Yeah.
Getting that talent.
And no, more than anything, this is the opportunity for India. Double down, triple down, teach them languages. We've been getting requests of nurses for Germany or for the NHS, for the US, for Japan, and for all these
Are you
places.
in a position to provide that?
We can do a little, but I think that that there should be way more emphasis in WTO. Who speaks about that much about services, about the ability for us to be able to, our degrees to be recognized. So you must start from there. Government needs to unblock. We need to create very good curriculums. And then after that, once you open out those, those choke points, I really believe that Indians have the ability to scale this particular opportunity. And with that, then you're going to provide a whole bunch of Indians with opportunities to go anywhere in the world.
Shobna, wonderful speaking to you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you so much. Shobna Kamineni there over describing a lot about not just the Apollo Group but broader trends in medicine. And I think the conversation on aging particularly interesting. There is so much we can talk about healthcare in this country, and the learning experiences of the pandemic certainly something which would perhaps take us in good stead.
News now from Rajasthan, and trouble for the Gehlot government really this morning, Gargi. A minister close to Ashok Gehlot, Ashok Chandana, has vented his anger against the state bureaucracy.
He asked the Chief Minister to remove him from what he termed the dishonourable ministerial post and hand over charge of all his departments to Kuldeep Ranka, whom he called the Minister of all departments. Well, let's go across to Harsha now for more. And Harsha, the BJP already, talking about the ship is sinking and trends for 2023. But tell us more about this, clearly some sort of tussle between this very powerful bureaucrat and ministers in the Gehlot government.
Well, yes, Ashok Chandana, ironically, is considered very, very close to Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. In fact, he's the kind of young leadership that Ashok Gehlot has been promoting in the state. So quite surprising that the Minister for Youth Affairs, he's also handling disaster management and, important portfolios like that. skill development is another portfolio that he has, so that he tweeted something like that late last evening, and that too against the principal secretary to the chief minister. So that's really hitting home. It's taken everybody by surprise. Now this comes just a week after Ganesh Ghogra, who is a tribal leader, MLA from Dungarpur. He had a face-off with the district administration in Dungarpur, and then he also sent a letter to the chief minister saying he wanted to resign. This was over distribution of lease deeds. So exactly what is the tussle with the bureaucracy? One is not very, very clear on the details of that. But clearly, this kind of political turbulence in Rajasthan rocks the boat, because remember, it is tenuously poised. They have just about 100 MLAs, and then they have the support of independents. Then the well-known tussle between Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot is something that has been public for a while now. So any kind of political turbulence rocks the boat in Rajasthan. There's a Rajya Sabha election coming up where the Congress is hoping to get 3 seats out of 4. And for that, every vote will be important, every MLA, and of course, every minister. So let's see how the chief minister handles it today, and what's the troubleshooting that goes on behind the scenes.
And clearly troubleshooting required. Thanks so much, Harsha, for joining us there with the latest. Now, news of the Prime Minister who was in South India yesterday, and on Thursday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised Tamil Nadu as a special place and lauded the Tamil language as eternal and its culture as global.
He also inaugurated 11 projects worth 31,000 crore. This is PM Modi's first official visit to Tamil Nadu after DMK came to power last year. CM MK Stalin, who shared the stage with the Prime Minister, demanded that Tamil be made an official language like Hindi. So that Tamil versus Hindi debate coming all over again.
That's right. And earlier in Hyderabad, the Prime Minister had hit out at Chief Minister KCR when he talked about dynasty politics. The TRS hit back, saying the Prime Minister spoke like a BJP worker and not the PM.
तेलंगाना के लोग देख रहे हैं कि एक परिवार को समर्पित पार्टियां.
A politically charged environment where both Prime Minister Modi and Telangana Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao indirectly took potshots at each other. In KCR's home turf, Prime Minister Modi accused him of corruption and family politics.
तेलंगाना के लोग देख रहे हैं कि एक परिवार को समर्पित पार्टियां जब सत्ता में आती है तो कैसे उस परिवार के सदस्य भ्रष्टाचार उसका सबसे बड़ा चेहरा बन जाते हैं.
The Telangana Chief Minister wasn't in Hyderabad to welcome the Prime Minister Modi. Instead, he was in Bengaluru rallying support from the JDS Supremos, the Gowdas. K. Chandrasekhar Rao promised a sensational announcement soon while attacking the Prime Minister, making it clear that he is not the B team of the BJP.
हालात बिगड़ता जा रहा है दिन ब दिन. भाषणबाजी तो बहुत होता है, प्रॉमिसेस बहुत किए जाते हैं, लेकिन होता यह है, असलियत क्या है? इंडस्ट्री क्लोजर हो रहा है, जीडीपी क्रैश हो रहा है, इन्फ्लेशन ऑन द हाई राइज है, रुपया पूरा कंप्लीटली गिर गया है, नेवर बिफोर इन द हिस्ट्री. देश के युवाओं को, देश के बुद्धिजीवियों को, देश के जर्नलिस्ट भाइयों का ये फर्ज बनता है कि ये भारत बदले, ज़रूर बदले और ज़रूर बदलेगा.
The Prime Minister also visited Chennai, with his party organizing a road show. Even though it has a negligible presence in the state, it won only 4 seats of the assembly seats last year. In Tamil Nadu, Modi launched and laid the foundation for projects worth 31,000 crore rupees. This includes the highways, railways, and a 5,000 crore rupee project to 2-tier elevated corridor in Chennai, launched by the DMK in its last venture over a decade ago, but put in cold storage by the AIA-DMK regime.
It is always wonderful to be back in Tamil Nadu. This is land, and this land is special. The people, culture, and language of the state are outstanding. we have gathered here to celebrate yet another glorious chapter of Tamil Nadu's development journey.
M.K. Stalin, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, has always been vocal about the Hindi imposition by the BJP supremos, and on a couple of occasions he has directly warned Home Minister Amit Shah on how the imposition of Hindi tactic won't help them win Tamil Nadu.
பழமைக்கும் பழமையாய் புதுமைக்கும் புதுமையாய் உலக செம்மொழிகளில் இன்றளவும் சீரழமை திறத்தோடு உயிர்ப்போடு விளங்கக்கூடிய தமிழை இந்திக்கு இணையான அலுவல் மொழியாகவும் உயர்நீதிமன்றத்தில் வழக்காடு மொழியாகவும் அறிவிக்க வேண்டும். இறுதியாக மருத்துவ மாணவர் சேர்க்கைக்கு கொண்டு வரப்பட்டுள்ள தேசிய தகுதி மற்றும் நுழைவுத் தேர்வு நீட் முறையை தமிழ்நாடு அரசு தொடர்ந்து எதிர்த்து வருகிறது.
Interestingly, Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister was the first CM K. Chandrasekhar Rao visited when he started heading out against the BJP late last year. M.K. Stalin is currently part of an alliance with the opposition Congress. Next on KCR's visiting list, the Odisha's Naveen Patnaik and West Bengal's Mamata Banerjee. K. Chandrasekhar Rao believes that the time has come to forge an alliance without the BJP or the Congress for that matter. He sends out a very strong message, in fact a warning to Prime Minister Narendra Modi that something big awaits, not just him but also BJP-led NDA. With Sam and Govind, Shrija for NDTV.
All right, well, to talk more about the Prime Minister's South visit and South push, we're joined by A. Saravanan, DMK spokesperson, Mahesh, a political analyst from Tamil Nadu and someone who supports the BJP, and Krishank Maan, spokesperson of the TRS.
Let's in fact start with Mr. Saravanan. CM Stalin really using this opportunity of the Prime Minister's visit to push for Tamil again as an official language and to talk about revenue share for the state.
Yeah. Ever since the BJP has come to power, we have seen that Hindi is being imposed relentlessly, and BJP is pandering to the Hindi-speaking population. It is a Hindi majoritarian party. That is the reason why we have been opposing all the moves of the union government to impose Hindi at any cost. And probably this is the time. See, everybody is claiming, the BJP is claiming that the Prime Minister is using Tamil everywhere on the world stage. He is praising Tamil. He is very fond of the language and all that. Then this is the right time to make Tamil is also as an official language and give equal status as that of Hindi. Tamil is a classical language. This is one thing. The other thing is being the state's share of the revenues. Tamil Nadu is one of the high-performing states and contributes a chunk towards, major chunk towards the tax revenue and other economic growth to the country. But what we get back as our share is dwindling. This is due to several policies, and we have also not got back the GST dues. So the schemes, when we are a high-performing state, we have that kind of an expenditure too.
All right. Well, let's get Mr. Mahesh in. Mahesh, your response to that, it was meant to be, the Prime Minister's South push, but the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister making it about this, language debate as well as talking about revenue share for the states.
Yeah, it is, at the outset, let me tell you, this is laughable what Mr. Saravanan is talking about Hindi imposition and other things. This is the first, at the outset, this is the first visit of the Prime Minister to Tamil Nadu after DMK has come to power. He has come to launch the government schemes. Here, this is not the appropriate platform to raise these issues. There are several platforms for a Chief Minister to talk to the Prime Minister. And this is not the appropriate forum. It lacks basic etiquette and manners.
Right. Let's get Mr. Saravanan in on that. What would you say in response to that? This was not the forum to, embarrass the Prime Minister or to, talk about this language debate.
What is embarrassment? Talk about the aspirations of the people of Tamil Nadu? This is not, we are not talking anything personal here. This is the will of the people of Tamil Nadu. This is the demands of the people of Tamil Nadu. Where else can we speak about this? This is a democratic country. What decorum you are talking about? The BJP government will spend, the last week, they have, the union government has spent around $800,000 to promote Hindi in the United Nations. Do they think that only Hindi-speaking people are outside the country?
This is
Only
what
there are no
Mr. Saravanan is
Tamilians,
talking
no
about.
Kannadigas, no Malayalis outside the state of outside our country. They will raise these issues. What decorum are you talking about?
Mr. Saravanan, let me come back to you on this language issue. Our Prime Minister has been the best ambassador for Tamil all these years since he has become the Prime Minister. He is speaking about Tamil in the United Nations. He is speaking about Tamil in our Parliament. He is speaking about the greatness of Tamil in every forum. Now, he is talking about Hindi imposition. If there is one party that has imposed Hindi imposition, it is only the Congress. Indira Gandhi brought in the three-language formula. And these people are the very people who are in alliance with the Congress now. And they are talking about Hindi imposition, that is the devil quoting scriptures.
All right, clearly that this issue is also going to continue. I have to get in Mr. Krishank Maan as well. And Mr. Krishank Maan, let's talk about the Prime Minister's visit to Hyderabad. And again, the Chief Minister wasn't there, to meet him. This is the second time I think he's not been there when the Prime Minister visited. And the Prime Minister also had remarks about family politics and corruption.
Well, when they have nothing to speak about what Bharatiya Janata Party and Government of India has done to Telangana, that is the only regular rhetorics which they will speak, while having Bharatiya Janata Party's family clan everywhere, including the Board of Cricket Control India also, where Jai Shah is sitting there. Right, keeping that aside, well, we don't see that Prime Minister of India visited to Hyderabad yesterday, because it was a Bharatiya Janata Party leader who came and addressed to his Bharatiya Janata Party cadre directly right in the airport. He's kept a meeting. How do you expect a Telangana Chief Minister go when a Bharatiya Janata Party leader has come there to address his own party cadre? And what did he speak? Did he speak anything of 8 years of Government of India if they've done something to Telangana? They haven't given a single penny for any irrigation projects here, or many pending promises of the Andhra Pradesh Bifurcation Act. Keeping this aside, he has only spoken political rhetorics. And one more thing, we do not want to limit this as a language debate, but just 24 hours before Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi ji's visit, their BJP state president challenged two things: that if Bharatiya Janata Party comes in power to Telangana, they will demolish all the mosques and ban Urdu language. This is against the constitution. And one side, Prime Minister speaks that Bharatiya Janata Party respects all languages. They do not want language politics. Then why is the BJP state president and the Lok Sabha MP speaking such kind of a language?
Right, Mr. Mahesh, let's get Mr. Mahesh's response on this. The TRS is saying that the BJP is raising the family politics and the communal issues again because they actually don't have concrete economic issues to talk about.
Yeah, really. You see, if there is someone who's talking about communalizing politics in Telangana, it is KCR and his family. They are giving special religious quotas. Is this allowed as per the constitution? Are they giving special concession for Muslims? Is this secularism? Appeasement of minority and kicking the minority, that is kicking the minority and kicking the majority. Is this the secularism followed by KCR and co? And coming back to this language debate in the high courts, it was Prime Minister during the 11th conference of Joint Conference of Chief Ministers and Chief Justices. Prime Minister Modi asked the Chief Justice to implement the local languages in the High Courts. He requested the Chief Justice to use local languages in the High Court. And Justice Ramanan has said it will take some time. There are a lot of procedural issues. And the government is working on this. Where is the
all right, well, I'm afraid we're completely out of time, but thank you all for joining us on this debate and the Prime Minister's big South push. But as you can see, a lot of controversy also emerging from that visit. All right, with that, time for us to slip into a short break.
And coming up next, after wheat and sugar, the centre is considering export controls on rice to control inflation. We'll get to you all the details on the other side.
Welcome back. Congress leader and Member of Parliament Karti Chidambaram has now written to Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla regarding his CBI questioning in the alleged bribe for visa scam.
Now, he says the CBI questioning is a gross breach of parliamentary privilege by the CBI. He describes CBI's action as unconstitutional, accusing the government of relentlessly campaigning against him and his family.
Listen to me. I have written to the parliamentary speaker Listen to me. Please wait. I have written to the Lok Sabha Speaker that there has been a gross breach of parliamentary privilege. My parliamentary committee papers, which pertain to the Information Technology Committee, have been taken during the search and seizure. And they've been taken by the state. This is a complete breach of privilege. These are notes which I have made about the witnesses who deposed before us and the questions I wanted to ask. These are confidential parliamentary documents which nobody has a right to take, and they have taken it, and I have written to the Speaker complaining about that. Nothing. They were asking my name, address, and my educational qualification.
All right, Karthi Chidambaram, they're hitting out, also writing to Om Birla. All right, moving on to news from the US and Texas, where 19 school children were shot dead by an 18-year-old gunman. 2 teachers were also killed.
And now footage has emerged showing the panic-stricken parents of the Texas school children screaming at law enforcement to enter the school just before 19 little children were killed. NDTV's Parmeshwar Bava reports.
The 18-year-old Texas shooter, Salvador Ramos, was in a standoff with law enforcement officers for about 30 minutes after firing on students and teachers, according to reports. Footage has now emerged showing the panic-stricken parents of the Texas school children screaming at law enforcement to enter the school. As young children and parents cried and held each other, a Meta spokesperson said the gunman sent direct messages regarding his attack on one of its platforms, something the social media giant says it learned after the shooting. As families mourned, Democrat Beto O'Rourke, a gun control advocate who is running for governor in Texas next year, publicly confronted Texas's Republican governor Greg Abbott.
Like you, why don't you get out of here?
Abbott is to address the National Rifle Association, America's most powerful gun lobbyist group, in Houston on Friday. The NRA is heavily against all forms of gun control. This as New York's governor asserts that she wants to raise the minimum age of who can buy a gun.
How does an 18-year-old purchase an AR-15 in the state of New York, state of Texas? That person's not old enough to buy a legal drink. I want to work with the legislature to change that. I want it to be 21.
As families mourn this tragic incident which has left 19 little children dead, the discussion around gun control has once again been brought to the fore. So far, Republicans have offered thoughts and prayers, but not gun control to stop the killings. Parmeshwar Bava for NDTV.
And the father of a 10-year-old girl who was killed in this week's mass shooting at Texas says the police did not act quickly enough to save his daughter and 18 other students.
Cazares also said that the doors to the school should have been locked so that the shooter could not enter. Just listen in to some of those reactions coming in from families.
I honestly think that it could have been, so a lot more could have been prevented or prepared. You know, I didn't see no preparedness at all. I mean, as soon as they heard that gunshot, they should have rushed in. They were there without proper equipment. I saw there 15, 20 minutes later, they came with their shields. Like, that should have been in their cars, you know, going in, not waiting 30, 45 minutes to get in. I promised my little girl on I saw her at the hospital, and I promised her, you know, her death is not going to be, you know, in vain. I'm going to, do whatever I can to talk, you know, to make sure, you know, it's just not.
Yeah, she was excited for the summer. We were going to go to the zoo and maybe travel to Illinois to see some family and stuff. But obviously, you know, after what happened. It's not going to happen now.
You just never would have imagined that it would have happened in such a small town like this. And it's just unreal. We're just glad that we gave her the best life we could while she was here. There was never a dull day with her.